All right, hey everyone, this is Kevin. There's been a lot of debate over which is position you, and with the NFL draft, I'm going to use actual stats to figure out not only which college produces the best players by position, but also the best elite talent, the best overall talent, and the best good talent. So we're going to start off with some of the most controversial one overall, and that is defensive back you. Before we get into this, I'm just here's what it is. These are draft picks over the last 20 years. So from 2000 and on, every player gets drafted, get put into a database, and all these stats are totaled up. There's no, this is from a pro football database. There's no meandering or I'm not doing anything else. All I'm essentially doing is going through and dumping data in here, all right, and then sorting them out to be easily used. So with that being said, we're going to start off with defensive backs. This isn't close. This is an easy one. Ohio State, by far and away, um, is defensive back you. If you look at the years of starters, 84, that means going into a season, for that season, they are the starter. All right, they're expected to be the starter for that season. So it doesn't matter how many games you played, but expected starters means how essentially how good you are. You're the best player on that team for the position that you're going to be in. Interceptions, Ohio State wins on that very easily. Tackles, doesn't mean that much for a defensive back, but it kind of does. There's it's mind-boggling how much better it is. Sacks, just for fun, it doesn't matter, but I have it in here. Bama has the most defensive back sacks. Now, Pro Bowl, unfortunately, does include this does include alternates. So yeah, um, if they're an alternate, even though they're not a real Pro Bowl selection, there wasn't a good way to filter that out. So Mac Jones got a Pro Bowl point for this year. But now Ohio State is a little bit lacking on that compared to Miami and LSU. Overall draft picks, you know, thir- 33. I don't put too much in it because we want to see who succeeds in the NFL, not who they think is going to succeed in the NFL. But overall games played, it's not even close. So Ohio State gets DBU because if you're going to draft a defensive back, there's a best chance that you know the Ohio State ones are going to produce for the team that drafted them. Next, we're going to go with defensive line university. This one's a little bit closer. All right. So if you look at years of starters, LSU is number one, but right up in there is Tennessee, Texas, and Alabama and Ohio State. Um, Interceptions, just for fun, we're looking at it, but it doesn't count. 17 for Purdue. That's kind of funny. Solo tackles. Ohio State's defense line has the most solo tackles. And we're going to go with sacks, which is a major feature. Ohio State has the most sacks. Georgia, and then Purdue and USC. Pro Bowl selections. You got Georgia with 13, with 18, then Ohio State with 13. Count of picks. We're going to 28 Florida State. Picks don't really matter if they don't pan out overall. Thank you, Aaron Donald, for that. And games played, LSU, Texas, you know, or Ohio State. I mean, honestly, you gotta go with sacks overall. And Georgia and Ohio State are right there. Years of starters, Georgia and Ohio State are right there. Pro Bowlers, now you're getting a little bit, um, out here, with Georgia fairly beating Ohio State. Games, Ohio State fairly beats Georgia. I'm going to go with Georgia as defensive line university barely beating out Ohio State because of the number of Pro Bowlers, over games. I'm going to go with this one's definitely up for debate. If you want to say Ohio State's defensive line, I'm not going to argue with you. Now, linebacker university, this is a blowout. It's Georgia. We're going to go with years at starter. Not close. Interceptions is fun, but it's not close. Solo tackles, it's not close. Sacks from linebackers, it's ridiculous. Pro Bowlers, it gets a little, Georgia falls down here, but with the sheer number of picks, solo tackles, years of starters, games played, this linebacker university is 100% Georgia. Next, we're going to go to quarterback university. This is going to be a little bit harder because there's some only one position the person on the team plays. The stats are going to be very opinionated towards teams like a Tom Brady or Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers. So I took that in consideration, on that. Count of picks, I'm going to do that. I don't like to throw it in with the rest of them. There's a whole bunch, but overall count of picks, we got LSU, then you have USC. LSU is not going to be up there. If you want to look at bust university for quarterbacks, besides my boy Joe Burrow, it's going to be LSU. I bet you most of these are probably, what percentage of these are Joe Burrows? This is terrible. 9 picks and only one decent one. And people call Ohio State bust university on quarterbacks. Jeezy Pete. LSU is terrible. But that's besides Joe Burrow. We won't go there. Overall passing yards, Purdue. Thank you, Drew Brees. But we have USC down here. Passing TDs. Tom Brady. You look at your starter. We still have USC up here. Most interceptions, I assume with not having very many just dominating quarterbacks, we're going to have USC at the top here. But I'm not going to fault them for that too much because we don't take negative stats into consideration. This is just fun. Passing attempts, USC, but I'm not going to. But now let's go to years of starters. You got USC at 1. There's quite a bit of difference, and these are a bunch of different quarterbacks. Pro Bowlers. So there's quite a gap between these. Pro Bowlers, Michigan 15, probably all from one player. All Pro. Thank you, Aaron Rodgers. Games played, USC dominates. USC is going to be quarterback university, and there's not too much of a debate just based on multiple quarterbacks coming in. Running back university. This one's a little bit closer because there's a bunch of different stats on this. Let's go with rushing yards. We got Miami, Florida, and Alabama. It's clearly going to be between Miami and Alabama. There's a strong drop off after that. But Miami clearly has more rushing yards. Rushing TDs, clear and away, it's Alabama. So now they're kind of equaled out. Rushing attempts are very close, but just look at the gap after that. Years of a starter, very close. Pro Bowlers, 13 to 11. All pros. Thank you, Adrian Peterson. 3 games. We have Miami with large amount, but yards are close. touchdowns aren't really close. I'm going to give, we want our running back scoring touchdowns. And I'm going to give Alabama running back university on this one. I don't want to be Miami. Don't worry, Miami fans. There's going to be, you're going to have more chances because the next category, tight end university, isn't close. This is a blowout. It's probably the worst stat, the biggest blowout of any position. Miami and Florida is tight end university, and it's not close. Receiving yards, these things are just way out of whack. Almost doubled. Receiving touchdowns, almost, over doubled. Years of starter. This is just blowout after blowout. Hey, Notre Dame has more picks. That's why we don't use picks. So, I guess if there is a loser university of tight end, bust university tight end, it's going to be Notre Dame. All pros. Arizona, thank you, Gronk. And then games. It's not close. Miami is definitely tight end university. Wide receiver university, surprisingly, this was very surprising. You got LSU here with the receiving yards. You have LSU with the receiving receptions. You have LSU with the touchdowns. You have LSU with years of starter. Miami does have one more Pro Bowl. LSU has the most draft picks. Central Mint, thank you, Antonio Brown. And games played. LSU is definitely wide receiver university. Offensive line university. This is not too many stats here. All you can really go off of years of starter. You got Wisconsin, Michigan too. Pro Bowl. You got Oklahoma with the most here. Wisconsin's 15 down here. All pros. Notre Dame jumps way out there with the all pros. Game started. Oops. Game started. Wisconsin. Just because, Wisconsin is just because, I hate Michigan. I'm not going to give it to them. So we're going to go with Wisconsin, and they win the years of starters. Tied with the Pro Bowls, have the most games played. So Ohio State's bust university, for offensive lines when it comes to that, but we won't get into that. So Wisconsin is offensive line university. Now overall defensive view. This is for the school that produces the best defensive players. Years of starter, Ohio State 1, LSU 2. Interceptions, Ohio State 1. There's Miami at 2. Solo tackles, large gap between Ohio State, the other contender, LSU. Sacks, Georgia's way up there with sacks. That's why they get, defensive line university. Pro Bowlers, Miami's way up there with the Pro Bowlers because they're, Ray Lewis and whatnot. Most draft picks, Ohio State. All pros, you got Miami. Games played, there's a large gap here. So really, it's we're looking for, if you draft a player from this school, what is the best chance he's going to produce for your team? So really it's between Ohio State and LSU. And since Ohio State beats LSU at most of the categories, we're going to go with Ohio State as defensive U. Offensive U, we're going to look at, first of all, games played. You got Miami and Florida, just blowing everyone out. All pros on offense. You got Michigan 9, Notre Dame 9. Miami's up there with 6 though. Count of draft picks. Ohio State might be bust offense university. Um, Pro Bowlers, Miami. Years of starter, Miami. It's going to be Miami. Receptions. Jeez, look at this. I mean, it's not even close. Reception touchdowns. Thank you, tight ends. And not even close. You know, Alabama wins this, but there's Miami at 2. Passing TDs. Miami's not even up here. But overall, Miami is going to win offensive U just from the sheer stats. So now NFL U. These are the combined stats for the best NFL producing college. Years of starter is going to play a huge role. You know, right here we have 113. Miami's right up there with them. Pro Bowlers, Miami blows everyone away. All pros, we'll get into that next. Miami's up there. Games played, we're gonna have to use games played as a huge thing on this, because we're close here on starters. You know, Alabama barely beats them. We're not close on Pro Bowlers, and we're not close on games. So over the last since 2000, Miami of Florida is NFLU. Those will begin to change. Alabama's going to catch back up. You know, Ohio State's going to catch back up. There's, you know, these will start. You know, if we move it over the last 20 years, I wonder how much it's going to change. But Miami, Florida, you know, since 2000, which is what this is, you know, they're NFLU. Now I went to some. I want to find out Elite U. So which schools produces the elite talent, the best of the best? And the way to find out is all pro. And that's where, you know, the most surprising stat for me was. Um, you look at your all pro count. Hold on, I didn't unfilter this. Since then, you got Miami, Pittsburgh, Wisconsin. You know, Pittsburgh produces some elite talent, you know, in that. Let's see here. I had a stat up here for that. But, you know, Pittsburgh, you got Aaron Donald, Darrell Revis. Wisconsin, you got the Watt brothers and Joe Thomas. In Miami, you know, a plethora of different, you know, Ray Lewis and all those, you know, defensive players. So all pro U. I'm probably would give to Miami just because they have a bunch of different players playing upstairs. At the end of the video, I'm going to break this down. So if you want to see what it looks like at the end of, you know, the all pro breakdown, stay at the end of the video, but I'm not going to waste your time here. Pro Bowl U. Okay, position all filters right on that. Miami, 83. It's not close. Miami's Pro Bowl U. So if you want your best chance of drafting a good player over the last since 2000, it's going to be Miami. And that's where we're going to. And that's what we went over. So you know, that's the video I have for you. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Debate it out. I'd love to debate. If you want to see a different stat or a different U, or you have any more questions, you know, put it in the comments. I can easily do it. It takes like this. If you want to stay on the video, I'm going to show you, you know, some of the power of Power BI and what it can do. So to dive into information, and this is going to be really cool. So stay tuned if you want. If you just want to know who won the awards, you know, you can end the video. So let's go through and let's find out the all pros. All right, so we're going to create a new page here. We're going to go over, we're going to create a table. So we're going to go all pro, 104 all pros. We're going to go with schools. Where are you at? College, university. And then let's find out the players. Let's go positions, players. All right. So this is what Power BI does. It allows you to dig into information and give you what you want. The way to do that is to add a slicer. All right, so we're going to slice on college, and let's find out the players that made it for Miami of Ohio, Florida. You look here, Ed Reed twice, Devin Hester 3 times. I assume that's as a returner, not as a defensive back. Andre Johnson twice as wide receiver. Campbell defensive end. I don't even remember who Beason is. Vince Wilfork. Look at the different all pros from Miami that have won it. You can click on go through here. We'll go Pittsburgh. Aaron Donald, Revis, punter. I don't like seeing that on there for the stats, but someone has to win it. McCoy won it twice, and Larry Fitzgerald only won it once, which is very surprising. And you can do that. So we're going to erase this. All right, let's break it down by position. Let's add a position slicer in there. Let's see which position has been winning, which players have won it at wide receiver. If Larry Fitz only won it once, who's been winning at wide receiver? Antonio Brown's got 4. Cordell Patterson's got 4 all pro. Okay, that had to be as a specialist. Hopkins, Calvin Johnson, Tariq Hill, Julio, Adams, Michael Thomas, Ocho, Matthew Slater. I don't know about that. Steve Smith. Then you can kind of have some fun with the one-offs. Down here. Some of these I haven't really heard of. Let's go look at the quarterback all pros. Aaron Rodgers, then Tom Brady, and then a bunch of ones. So we should, okay. I was thinking, we should have 20 in here that won, that won all pro, right? Because it's the last 20 years of draft. But that doesn't take into account, those are only players it's not last 20 years of NFL, it's last 20 years of draft picks, all right? So you're not going to, so in the early, 2000s, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers aren't winning them. I mean, those are going, to some of the, the Brett Favres and everyone who was drafted before 2000 were winning them then. So that's why you don't see the 20 in there. That's a good question. I wonder who were those quarterbacks winning them in the early 2000s. I'm kind of brain dead right now, so I'm not even going to think of that. But that's my demonstration. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Once again, pop them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them. All right, thanks everyone.